Hey,
Hey bro, hey bro. Not my man.
it's good to be back. Good to be back. It's been exciting news recently. We've had the Switch 2 announcement of a direct in a month or two. Ugh. But
Like, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world of gaming before we get there. It looks like you've been in a new place.
I've moved. I'm finalizing my move. I'm here. I'm unpacking. I'm getting settled. And I'm just kind of getting everything working again. So now I've got the PC up and running, got the internet connected and running, and whew, getting it sorted, man. It's going through the IP information on your computer and just trying to get the things to sync up. Oh God! But once you've done it and you've got the internet, oh glorious!
Hallelujah, mate.
I know.
No.
It's been too long, too long. But here I am. I'm back, and I'm
Mm,
excited to chat about Switch 2. Very exciting.
yes. But wait, hold on. Before I understand you said a little update recently about PlayStation.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that now, or do PlayStation?
We
We'll talk
should.
about that now. Okay. Breaking news. This is literally this morning. I woke up, checked my news feed, and boom, it was aghast. PlayStation Network is down. What the smeg? In fact, I'm just going to bring up a news report of this now. Boop, boop. Screens, advanced portion of the screen. Shoop. Here we are. Right. Apparently, the PlayStation Network. This has just dropped. This just happened. Right. It's back live after a massive disruption. It was down for 24 hours. So literally yesterday it went down, and yesterday morning it went down. It was down all yesterday, and it is back up today. Now, if that doesn't date this video, I don't know what will.
That's how the
But
cycle works these days.
yeah, as we're
Um,
looking at this, so PlayStation Network went down, and this is akin to the one it went down years ago. PlayStation Network, exactly what you don't need in a weekend is what happened for 24 hours. Frustrated PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 gamers first reported problems accessing PSN, the network. 6 p.m. ET on Friday, that's American time. And it wasn't until 6:58 p.m. on Saturday that the service was restored.
Jeez.
That is crazy. That is cuckoo bananas.
Mhm. And that's it. Well, listen, I mean, well, it's of course. I can't make things. I'm not too far out area people, I gotta say it sounds suspicious. I'm gonna put this out there now so we can go ahead and start focusing on the game side of things. But for those of you out there in the internet, I'm sure you know, um, people have been concerned about hairstyles. I'm gonna just say that. If I just say it one time, hopefully you should mix it with the other. I don't think we're under too much scrutiny with the other these days as a new sheriff in county field, but what's threats of things going down? I mean, strange things happening, especially in the states, where um, let's just say people's data is getting access to.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
that's a
And
fair shake. It's that people's
yeah,
data is what they're worried about.
yeah, and oh, I'd be surprised if because there's only something of like internet blackout. There's exactly big groups are trying to uh, find in advance. This is say it's so when if you could it's some people say things like these are test case scenarios. If you can knock out people's access to the internet and so on in certain places, especially set of people who love PlayStation, um, it's it, it can you can also hold certain companies hostage. It's a bit like what and all that stuff. You can effectively when you say this company can operate or it can't operate unless you pay me 1 billion, trillion, shambillion, yeah, or something like that. Then you got one hell of a decision that you can deal with it. So right now, I just hope that stuff like this, even though it's the second time, I can say this is it wasn't a say it's a good one. Now this is happening again. Even for you having I, I don't know what's behind it. Maybe a PL was named, maybe some idiot with one of my old computers when the crypto thing happened, and you maybe been hit with that malware, and it some bozo just runs the million says, why are you going to pay me this money? I didn't pay them. I'm not paying. I hate scammers. If I see them, I'm gonna anyway. So experience. So I thought, who knows? Maybe some genius behind the scenes that was like, you know, to hack the hackers and stop it, or we
It's
know.
funny you say genius because computer science is a constantly evolving, rapidly evolving field. It's only been around for a couple of decades, realistically, because that's how
Mm,
long we've had computers in the mainstream. But the science of what you can do with it between the Internet 2.0, well, are we on 3.0 now? Evolutions of basic fundamental abilities, the increased gene networks, just it is staggering to think how fast technology has progressed and how much people have progressed it within a short space of time. But
mm,
there's always going to be people pushing the gambit. You know, it's such an adventurous field, and it's so useful that anyone could be the next, Renaissance character. They could create the next thing. That's why a lot of these big companies try to wall off their networks, try to wall off their content and keep themselves to themselves. But bottom line, big companies promote themselves as these great, safe, organized, professional entities, but they are just like one step ahead. They are constantly spending massive amounts of money on hiring and training their own staff to keep them just one step ahead of hackers who, the term
mm,
itself has a bit of negative connotations. It's just people pushing the envelope, trying to see what they can do within the field of computer science. Yeah, there
mm,
are some malicious entities within that. People trying to access, as you say, get hold of people's data, get into private networks, and to screw them. Some of these. What's that hacking scam? Someone gets in and then they shut down everything, and they're like, you have to pay. They ransom off the data or the network.
I know you're talking about effort and impact
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it's a pretty shitty thing that can be done, but I don't think that all hackers are evil, and I don't think that people in the computer sciences are ever going to be
Mm,
stratified. It's never going to be like, oh, you are this good or this good, no matter how much Google wants to organize it.
mm,
It's the field is just too varied, too interesting, too spontaneous at the moment because people trying different things. They're learning from the feet. They learn at the feet of masters. They stand on the shoulders of giants, and the field is just progressing so quickly. And that does mean occasionally someone works their way through the defenses, works their way through an unexpected gap in your security, and they get in. Whether they do any damage, that's up to them. But
mm.
it's impossible to think that anyone's network, anyone's system is impenetrable. It can't be done. It can't be impenetrable if it's using the internet. One moment it's on the internet, there are gonna be vulnerabilities.
Well, look, that's it. It's like, you know, it's a easy thing to say. Some people, those who don't decide this until it's too late, but who knows? I mean, I was about to say this. I was about to say transparency is the answer. Because they say, you know, you can't definitely in the middle of the time, you can't cheat an honest man. Um, when you're when you're confronted with something, you just you can't. It's a bit like you can't force somebody to respect your content. Love. Um, when you're that open, when you're very open and so on, and you want the real thing, you got to be dealing with. What am I trying to say? I'm trying. Sorry, I'm trying to censor myself. I'm not making sense. Let's go back to the budget and this man feel.
No, I like where you
It's
were going there. I like the idea that companies need to engender goodwill of their customers.
mm,
They've
yeah,
got
that's
to
all.
be, yeah, they've got to be decent to their customers. And PlayStation, for the most part, hasn't in the recent years. They've kind of screwed a lot of their own customers. People who wanted to play Helldivers 2, which, online game, PlayStation Network goes down, they can't play it. But they've cut off a lot of people who should have been able to play. They've just made whole swaths of the world unable to play because if you can't play, even on a PC, if you can't play with a
Mm,
PlayStation Network access, you've done it. And there's people don't have access to PlayStation Network just by the hardware or the software decisions. The limitations of the network are apparent. And if they
yeah,
can't get it, it means they can't play this game. This game isn't a PlayStation game. It's an independent game, but it's locked. It's
that's it.
hoarded away like Dragon's Gold. And that
This
does
is it,
not
bro. And
engender goodwill. People get pissed, and
this is
don't piss off gamers, man. They are tech savvy.
dude, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was trying to say when I was getting to the words of it. Um, a bit like this, you know what I mean? The iPhone 6 story. This Smash thing, I kept it forever, just in the name of protesting. Oh, get a new phone. Look what you tell me to. Until eventually, some even people say, "Well, you can't." That's not when YouTube want to say anymore, because YouTube is finally said, "Does it no more all these? Don't get the news." You know,
Yeah,
too bad. So
and the
I'm just trying to
and
get news, but
adolescence.
yeah, so but, it's but it's when you make this, that's the thing. Why are they forcing people to go online? It's like it seems that's the kernel of dishonesty that is allowed the conman to slip in and do their cookery because what you're dealing with is somebody you're trying to get one over your the customers of course the supports the fans worship and when you just by keeping that thing online you can microtransact some distilleries you can eventually make them rent their game they purchased and so on just all in the name of reach if you will now again at the same time you can understand that the benefits couldn't be outlawed in the new but if you're really honest you need to give people both if they have this I don't know, you can't understand what we're doing today. Flutter, the old, I mean, the physical games, Flutter issue and stuff. But like you said, the more transparent they are about how they're doing, uh, I've got a feeling, that, apart from I'm thinking it right now, it really occurred to me during conversation, but I've got a feeling little screw FRLs like this would be less frequent if the company is a bit more transparent. I can't put a finger on exactly how, but it will probably occur to me during the conversation. Um, but yeah, I think it comes down to really prepping itself. You got all this data, all this information online, and all it takes is for one person to say is to twist the screws and look out the. Do you see Rush Hour 2 by the class?
One more kind.
You said a movie Rush Hour 2.
Oh hell yeah,
Yeah,
love the
yeah.
Rush
Remember
Hour
when
films. Chris Rock and Jackie Chan.
remember that story about there was like a casino called the Red Dragon, and the owner casino told the story about strangling it got so big. His job was guarding the gold or the treasure of a town, but they put this red dragon in front of the team that they stored it in. And fed it every day. So he gets strong, but he got so fat that it blocked the treasure behind it and it got stuck for And
Mm.
so it's a bit like these companies for this data. And you know what's ironic? Even when you have open source, you can still have somehow you can still have stuff going like ChatGPT is saying DeepSeek stole some of this stuff. It's open source. Okay. So even when you have a company that claim to be transparent with how they operate, um, you can still have people trying to take advantage of that. So it's no offense, it's not a black and white. It's just be open. You just got to be. I'm gonna say this. Like you said, the word goodwill comes to mind, but I'm struggling to put it in a sentence because I unfortunately censored myself too much in the conversation. I've ruined the thread of sense. All right, so I'm going to pass the mic to you.
It's funny you mentioned censoring because I'm a long time gamer. Look at me, grey hair, wrinkles. I've been there since the beginning, man. And I've watched the industry go up and down, try new things. I've seen new gameplay tropes occur, new gameplay technologies, and gaming is the second most prolific advancement of technology. The number one is military; they have the best tech. They push the envelope by miles. Um, then it's video games. Video games is the second in the world, the second most advanced form of tech advancement. They're pushing the envelope. But I've watched publishers get more and more power, take more and more control over the gaming landscape, and they constantly, over and over again, I keep hearing, executives and high-end creators telling me, oh yeah, the industry doesn't want single player. They want multiplayer. They want multiplayer. They want online. This is what they want. No, no, I'm just telling you now, no, it has never been the case. Good narrative single player games will always be big sellers because there will always be a market. Yeah, some games are great for multiplayer, but then you get what's been happening recently. We've got things like Concord, which crashed and burned and ruined PlayStation, just burned hundreds of millions of dollars because the industry is so overwhelmed, so overloaded, so glutted with
Mm.
masses of publishing games, like big online games. These, you know, these service games, live service games, just too many. It takes so long to play one. We can't play two, and you're offering us five. We're drowning, man. And then you keep telling me that single player ain't going to be the thing. It's online gaming is the thing. Okay, online gaming only works if everyone has access to a stable network. And not everyone has access to great connections. Certain parts of the world just don't have them. And other times, it's the don't swear. We're on YouTube. Don't swear. It's the fudging, in network itself that's going down. How can we invest time and money into these companies, into these games, when the service itself goes down? Now,
Mm.
I I don't blame the gamers. I'm not getting angry with the gamers, and I'm not going to blame Sony in perfectly in pure honesty. I don't think that it was Sony's error that made the network go down. I think that it was probably still a bad actor, someone acting with malicious intent, or even
True.
someone who pushed the wrong button, you know. But I do think that more and more companies, big companies in the industry, publishers and console makers are pushing for this idea of always online, a lack of ownership of a physical property. I mean, there's already been rumors that the Switch 2 will be the last console that is physical. The next generation is going to be purely digital. There will be no more physical games because it's just
What?
too much. Well, it's a rumor,
Oh, you,
but
oh,
it's a rumor. But people have been threatening this for a long time. At first, when digital DLC was a thing, people were like, "Oh, this is going to be the way of the future." Then digital gaming came out, and now it is. There's just a lot more. More people buying their games digitally now than they do physical. That's just a hard numbers thing. You can go and look at it from a number of sources. I have a large digital library. I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm a purist. No, I
yeah.
prefer physical. I've given the choice, I will buy physical, but there are just so many more games available digitally, and I can get them cheaper. The sales for a number of companies, Steam, GOG, even PlayStation and Nintendo and Xbox themselves do massive digital sales. It's very, very attractive. And, if they're going to offer you a great game at a cheap price, come on, I'm only human. Look at me. So I'm going to take it, but it does mean that it feels like they've decided how the industry is going to go, and they're slowly making the idea more palatable to people, just kind of easing people into it. Putting that frog into cold water and then slowly turning up the heat. But a moment like this, when the network goes down, you realize how vulnerable they are, how they are not that far ahead of security, real security issues, and how we are putting so much faith and money in their control, and it's not safe. It's not safe. I would always choose a physical copy of something over a digital because it's mine. I bought that damn thing. It's my product. And if I want to mod it, and if I want to sell it, that's my right as a consumer. I'm not buying a bleeding license for a game to occasionally download it if it's okay, master.
It's such a
Sorry, it's just very frustrating. And a moment like this, when PlayStation Network does go down, and you're like, oh, we can't play. Hmm.
yeah.
Well, we can play offline games. How about you make more offline games?
That's the thing. Oh, yeah. What, mm, I think the thing. I mean, can you
Mike,
say it's oh, um, all right, my bad.
a little better.
The music, I mean, permitting in the kind of things like auxiliary ports. There's it. Yeah. So here's the deal, man. Here's the deal. I'm thinking, I'd say maybe fairly argument. Bloody hell. They did it all option in his way and definitely superior. You know, cheaper, you get a bigger variety. If you go to a store and buy something, even think order it. And sometimes it still won't be able to compete with digital. got something often. So, but
Mm.
the idea that all of that is at the mercy of some, all of the servers of Sony and so on is hmm, the risky proposition. You, you've got a you've got an interesting situation because Sony at the end of the day, they're big behemoth of money and they're not going to want to tolerate that. So whatever it takes, if they have to kill somebody behind the scenes, I'm sorry, I'm not accusing it, hypothetically, if they have to get Snake from Metal Gear to hunt down whoever did this and get their system back and running, they'll do it. You can get your bottom dollar, but um, and it's like you said, people presume that the company is so organized. This sucks. Never. If this ever happened, it would be dealt with quickly. If not, it would never. Um, so when it comes to what offline offers us as a substitute, I think maybe we need something a bit more. I mean, I think we need more of a gesture of goodwill, like you said, when the first thing went down, you were able to get a free game. Um, the first time it went down. This time, if what if we got something in terms of all right, we're gonna give you the we're gonna give you wait, hold on, here's the thing, game time. Um,
Well, last time they
we're
gave
gonna,
free games. Last time the PlayStation Network went down, everyone who was a registered PlayStation Network user and the connection went down, the, it went down for a few days last time, but this time, they gave a selection of four games. They went, here are four games. You can choose one for free. They're all like mid-tier games. They were, pretty good. I got the zombie shooter, like isometric zombie shooter. Me and my buddies had a blast on it. It was pretty good. It was a solid, A game, maybe double A. It wasn't a triple A. It wasn't a big, a massive tentpole title, but it was certainly in the upper echelon. It wasn't some cheap indie game. So, yeah, it was a gesture. The network went down for a few days. Couldn't play for almost a week, and so they were like, "Yo, we'll give you a free game." This time, it's only down for 24 hours. But because so much more is done online now, especially with the big titles, I think a small gesture wouldn't go amiss.
I mean, exactly, and now I think you know, could be. I mean, because the other thing with that, a lot of the afterwards, when this done, what can you do with your business? Can you only play like hard games, like you have the hard copy of? Can you play games that are on your? Of course, you can sync things with it. You can play that. Oh, hello.
Yeah, I heard can't play games.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sound. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are you? So when it went down, what could you do with the PlayStation? And what couldn't you?
Well, I've been playing offline games to be perfectly honest. I've been playing catching up. I haven't had a PlayStation in a long time. I got one for my
Mm-hmm.
birthday in January, so I've been playing like the big games. I'm working my way through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is amazing. Just
Oh my
wow. Um, it's a hump of a game. It's a big game, but honestly, it puts its toes deep enough into to open world enough to connect to the earlier titles. But again, I'm only a short way through it. So, but I got friends who are playing Helldivers like almost every other day. They're on it and they have their own little team. They get on and they fight for democracy, for Super Earth. And they are. I need to I need to get in contact with them and see how they're doing because they'll be pissed. Woo. This whole thing
God.
was a
Yeah.
big interruption with their gaming schedule that they got involved with because they bought the advertising, the kind of promise that PlayStation was offering. Hey ho.
So, yes. So, would you recommend another free game with people?
I think some small gesture. I mean, they're not going to offer PlayStation Network for free. That's too much. And there's a triple tier now. There's like PlayStation Network, PlayStation Network Silver and Gold or something. I forget the names. But one has access to a gaming library, or an existing gaming library of PlayStation games. So you can just get the silver tier and download a whole mess of games. And Gold gives you that same library and a second library of classic games, which that's pretty good, to be fair.
That's
You can
nice.
download like a whole mess of old classic PlayStation games and play them. I do think that's because there were so few games on the PlayStation 5. You know, PS4 and 3 had massive libraries, and PlayStation 2 was just famous for it. You know, they had just such a library, not
Of
a lot of
course.
tap, but it was massive and it was varied. So the fact that this generation they really struggled to get games on their console, they just kind of lean back into their old libraries. And in the words of Yahtzee Croshaw, you know, like a woman trying to get pregnant, a console is only as good as the games. Someone's got to put something in it for it to be worth a value.
This is it. My goodness, this is a significant story, definitely. I mean, look how much we
I think
have
it's
to
interesting.
talk about.
It's an interesting moment in gaming because we we have put so much faith and time and effort into building up the online aspect of gaming, and the fact that that online aspect can be taken from us by no fault of the gamer
Mm.
should give people pause to talk. I would hope that gamers would take this moment to kind of reevaluate where things have been going, their own decisions, how much they're
Mm.
willing to take from these companies, because we're giving them more and more, they're taking more and more, and if they screw up, what happens? Is there any recompense? Is there any recourse? Do they get punished for screwing up?
It's interesting. I can say, oh yeah, just think about it.
Mm.
Excuse me.
Well,
So,
with that segue, we did want to talk about a little bit on the Switch 2, and we're running
right.
late on the meeting, so we're going to
Shall we?
burn on ahead. Looking
Yeah.
at, we're not going to go into much discussion over the Switch 2, but we're going to quickly watch a little bit of Yahtzee Crowshaw's recent video, Semi Ramblionic. We want to give thanks to Second Wind. They're releasing that video. He's doing speculation on what he thinks the next couple of games or what's going to be happening with his PlayStation, with the Switch 2. Not PlayStation, the Switch 2. Right, so we're going to jump straight into that. Sound. Boom, there we are.
Here we go.
Semi Ramblonic. This is his kind of a conversation spin off show.
So, the Switch 2 is officially, by the general standards of the modern tech industry, a thing that's coming vaguely soon, and the conclusion most people have drawn from what we've seen so far is that it's basically just the Switch 1, but more powerful, and now you can snap the controllers off like it's a fucking Kit Kat. And no bad thing, say I. I hate trying to line up those little slidey tracks the Switch 1 Joy-Cons slot into, all the while accidentally pressing buttons so it keeps bleeping and blooping at me when I just want it to turn off. I'm glad it's more powerful. I certainly got the sense from the way Tears of the Kingdom struggled with its frame rate that we were about due for an upgrade. Should we be disappointed that it's just an upgraded Switch 1? Fuck no. I'd have been disappointed if they'd done any more. Historically, Nintendo has had a bad habit of trying to fix what ain't broke where their hardware is concerned, and I just don't think there's much room for improvement, and plenty of ways they could fuck it up. If at least one aspect of our lives is staying in the nice, comfortable, stable status quo, we should be bloody well grateful. Hardware gimmicks are a sign of a juvenile industry, in my opinion, like when movies dabble in 3D or smell-o-vision. None of that matters when it comes to what's important, providing a means of conveying the story to the audience. Jurassic Park would not be improved if you could smell the T-Rex's farts. Well, let's not make too blanket a statement, I don't know what you're all into. Let's say instead that you can enjoy Jurassic Park as a film perfectly well without needing to smell the T-Rex's farts. In other words, it's the games that count, and as long as Nintendo retains the Switch's strong third-party support and commitment to indie games, I don't see any reason to worry on that front. But what about the showstoppers, Nintendo's big releases, for those who partake? Well, those are cards Nintendo seem to be holding close to their chest so far. We don't know much beyond that they're doing another Mario Kart. Speaking of things with very little room for improvement, some noted that in the footage, certain characters had been slightly redesigned to be more in line with how they looked in the Mario movie. A fairly neutral observation, but one that nonetheless left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like it when video games and movies cozy up. I know relations have improved in recent years. Moony-eyed...
Right, we're going to skip ahead to speculation. He makes two speculatory points. One, kind of obvious, and one I am really interested to get your opinion on.
Middle distance staring, gentle stroking of the front of the trousers guesswork. To that end, I would like to share two of my predictions for what Nintendo might do next with their first-party franchises such as Mario. In fact, both of them relate to Mario, let's not be coy. As for if these are things I genuinely think Nintendo is going to do, or merely things I think they should do, a little of column star, a little of column mushroom. Prediction number one. The next tentpole Super Mario game will be open world. I want to be clear on what I mean by tentpole here. There are a million Mario games covering the entire gameplay spectrum, from RPGs to tennis, but the core Super Mario series consists of a sequence of platform games that expand in scope with each new installment. That sequence consists of Super Mario Bros., Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World, Yoshi's Island, Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, Galaxy 2, and finally Mario Odyssey. What I'm talking about here is the follow-up to Mario Odyssey, and no, Mario Wonder doesn't count. Mario Wonder occupies the secondary thread of Mario platformers that I call Nostalgia Mario, games that don't try to expand the scope of the formula but merely repackage the established gameplay. So Wonder, the new Super Mario series, Mario 3D World, Mario Maker, that all goes there, on a little branch coming off the tent pole. So why do I think Odyssey 2... don't call it Odyssey 2. Inevitably I think of the Magnavox Odyssey 2, and it brings up all those childhood nightmares featuring the Munchkin box art. Call it something like Mario Universe or Mario Infinity. It hardly fucking matters. Why do I think whatever it's called will be, or at least would be well advised to be, open world? Because Nintendo has done about every imaginable thing one could do in preparation for making an open world Mario, and now only need to pull the trigger. Mario Odyssey was a pretty long way towards being open world already. All the individual lands you go to are basically mini sandboxes, almost literally in the case of the desert world. The only thing
the only thing you needed to do was connect them.
Yeah, see, Odyssey is like Sonic Adventure. You know, when Sonic was walking around town, there's people, humans walking up. Like,
There's an example of Sega doing it first.
Yeah, amen. I mean, to be honest, I do want to speak about Sonic 3 at some point, but maybe we'll until the movie then comes back in the scene. Before we go down that road. But yeah. But one thing I'll sort towards Sonic 3 and so on is it's funny. I'm in Okinawa, guys, and Japan. I mean, gaming on the Olympics is actually came from. But I was like, what? Well, I see move faster, which is what got me annoyed about Disney Monopoly. But I think in that case, I just thinking of Sonic is not super famous in Japan as much as in the West. It's kind of shocking. I saw this video about it, and I was like, yes, it's right.
I don't see as much Sonic merch as I do for Nintendo and Pokemon, and there are some Japanese-centric characters, Anpan-Man, Chibi Mariko. You just don't see outside of Japan. But I would have thought Sonic, really, he would have a presence here, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. That's the thing. Some people, I see people like in that video. Second, I'll drop it in this video. Also people on the street. Who's this? Who's Sonic? Or who's this guy? I don't know. So maybe you don't know. Again, Professor Suzuka people says you didn't see Sonic, and she's a gamer not like us. And I'm like, you did not see Sonic. What are you talking about? So, what it just occurred to me is a Western thing. That's why he's red, black, and blue. It's actually is called inspired by Michael Jackson, the Thriller. His red shoes inspired by that. That's the story goes. And so after all said and done, I grew up loving Sonic. Maybe loves Japan even more, ironically. Well, not ironically, he's from bloody Japan, but ironically came here and I'm like, what the hell, Sonic? You only catch in the Smash Bros. And Mario Olympics. Sonic and Mario Olympic Games. Because the Sega was so much of what Nintendo company, maybe Nintendo made sure, all right, I said, we're going to take you from this place, take your river into America. It's Peter Saturn that was getting traction in Japan more than even the Nexus. Unfortunately, kind of.
I think early Sega had its ups and downs in Japan, and I know that by the Sega Saturn they were really struggling. Nintendo had a massive chokehold on the market, but there was a pretty good ad campaign with Sega Senshiro, a funny Sega character who kind of pushed the Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn was doing well. The Dreamcast was very successful in Japan, but again, we're talking about the rise and fall of Sega again. Honestly, I think it's just a matter that Sega pushed ahead with some great ideas, but they were so far ahead of their time. It's the problem with the cutting edge. If you want to be on the cutting edge, it's a real balancing act, because the moment you slip, you're cut.
And it's all on you, isn't it? Nobody wants to help you. Well, usually. And sometimes people want to help, but they can't, because you've gone on such a limit. It's like, sorry. So it's not okay. But so here we go today, and sorry, back to this. This is why I'm going to leave that stuff for when we go back into the movie.
We'll come back to the second one. But yeah, I think that his point about the next Mario game being an open world, I think that was an inevitable. The moment Odyssey had these big open environments that you didn't enter and exit per object, star, moon, whatever. I think that was them testing the water. and then
Yeah.
testing the water to try and make a full Mario sandbox. And I think it's just going to be an expansion of that. Odyssey 2, whatever, Great Quest. So it's going to be him
Mhm.
traveling, and then all he does is he fall off the edge of one area, and boom, he's in another area. Then he gets on a pipe in one area, and boom, pops out in another area. It's all just going to be one seamless thing. And I look forward to it. I mean, they already did it
Yeah.
before with Bowser's Fury. There's the additional game
I didn't see that.
to
What's it like? Is it like
Oh,
a
it's really good.
strategy?
Yeah, it was a short but sweet game where you had to go around collecting objects, but it was one environment. It had different zones that had their own theme, background theme, tune, and different kind of actions and enemies, but it was just one area. It was just one large environment you had to traverse across. A bunch of islands on water. You got to ride the dinosaur, the Nessie character. And yeah, fun. It was a really good game, but it was short and sweet because it didn't take you long to
Um,
find everything. And then you beat the boss, and then boom, it was done. But that's why it was
okay.
packaged as an addition. You bought the game, and you got this on the side.
Mhm.
But I do think it was more
Well,
like a testing thing. It was a prototype, like a tech demo for the next Odyssey. People said that
yeah,
at the time. They're like, "Oh, this is where the direction they should go in." I think they have. I think it'd be
it's
crazy
yeah.
not to.
Nintendo, that's like because Mario slapped on, they basically slapped onto all the experimental titles that they want to see what they can take their game making practice in Nintendo. They have they have so many test cases that allow them to take Mario into an open world once they're ready. And as I was saying, this is pull the trigger, which they needed. I think it's funny when you have Galaxy and so on, honestly. That is look at I'm asking flagship the tentpole, yeah, this is a tentpole piece that was a line in and said this is where the next generation starts and so on, and you need a compelling story as well. Now, cool. We're gonna go on and come back because we're reaching the end of our. Probably have one more.
Right, we'll be back
So
shortly. This is part one of part two, and then part two will continue with this video. Right.
yeah,
See you in a moment.
so see you
Peace.
soon, peeps.